I've spent some time recently going down a rabbit hole. I think after being raised by a single mother, I've always questioned what it means to be a man. So over the last few years, I've been trying to shape and mould myself into the man that my younger self would have needed around. I spent a lot of time looking through YouTubers and different men on the platform and trying to pick up their positives and negatives and trying to implement that into myself. But I feel like over the last 6 months, 12 months, I've ended up looking at historical figures and trying to see what it was that allowed them to be a piece in history and make them last over time. Over my time of research of these historical figures, the same 5 names kept popping up. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, Jesus Christ, Alexander the Great, Napoleon Bonaparte, and Sir Isaac Newton. On the surface, there's not a lot these men should have in common, so I wanted to dig deeper and see what it was that allowed them to leave an impact. So I stopped asking who they were and started asking what it was that they did. Before I go any further, when I talk about greatness, I'm not talking about perfection. No man is flawless and I'm not ranking these men, but I'm talking about the impact that they left. These men's decisions changed the direction of history and have still got an impact on the world today. The first thing that stood out for me for all 5 of these men was conviction. They had an unshakable belief in what it was that they were doing, and no one could stop them in their tracks. Long before anyone else believed in them, when it was unpopular and when they were isolated, and when it cost them something, they still had that target and they kept that purpose going. They moved forward regardless. This made me realise something uncomfortable in today's day and age. It's not a thing of people lacking ability or lacking skills, it's a thing of us lacking conviction. A lot of people doubt themselves and don't have that self-belief in their decisions that they make on a daily basis. But if we took something from these 5 men, it's that we need to be strong in our decisions. We need to have a thought and follow through with it. The second thing these men had in common was the willingness to suffer. None of these men lived a comfortable life. They were constantly going through rejection, loss, exile, betrayal. But these lessons of discomfort weren't a sign for them to stop. It was just part of the process and allowed them to become the men that they wanted to be. We live in a time now where the moment something feels hard, the first instinct is to walk away. But history didn't reward that comfort, it rewarded endurance. Something that I found massively inspirational from all 5 of these men was the fact that they weren't chasing the short-term wins. They weren't looking for these short-term validation spikes that we do in today's day and age. Maybe unknowing to them, they've ended up shaping the minds and generations that came after them, whether that's through the lessons they taught, the ideas, the systems, teaching people and shaping their values and laying foundations. But the sacrifice that they made was for generations that were coming after them. And I do truly believe that's inspirational because I feel like we all want to put a stamp on this earth and leave a legacy before we end up leaving this earth. They weren't asking what it is that I get from this right now. They were asking what lasts when I'm gone. It's like that thing of investing and then over time your money compounds. These men's beliefs and ideas that they implemented into the world during that time have had that compound effect unknowing to them, but it's had an everlasting impact on people around the world even today. Something that I truly believe is one of the biggest weapons a man can have is the ability to have self-control. These 5 men, before they looked at anyone else and started leading them, they had that control over themselves, whether that's emotionally or their impulses or the direction they were headed. And it's not to say that they were emotionless or detached, but they had that thing of not being ruled by their impulses. Any thoughts that came to their mind, they were able to have that ability to look at them in a calm manner and then act upon it. This is the thing, you can't ever lead if you can't even lead yourself. If you can't carry the responsibility and you're constantly reacting instead of choosing. A lot of my own self-reflection has ended up leading me to books and ideas that force me to look at myself honestly in the mirror. And it's not because these books give me all the answers, but it's because they ask me the hard questions, whether that comes down to purpose, responsibility, the direction that I'm wanting to head in myself. It's the kind of questions that make you feel a bit uncomfortable, but it's them questions that most people avoid. The last thing these men had in common was something that I've touched on throughout this video. It was purpose. None of them purely lived for comfort, status or pleasure. Their lives were anchored by something that was bigger than themselves. faith, knowledge, the people, a mission. And when someone genuinely lives beyond their ego, others feel it. Not because they're forced to follow, but because it's rare to see. What stood with me after looking through all 5 of these men wasn't how powerful they were, it was how clear they were. They knew what they stood for and they knew what they were willing to sacrifice, no matter what the cost was. And I think that's the part of manhood that doesn't get spoken about enough. It's not about image, it's not about dominance, it's not about status, but it's about the clarity, the responsibility and the willingness to carry the weight and not run from it. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more.